هبت نفحات أنسية فشد البلبل ألف تحية وبدا البدر الليلة شوقا يلقي الأنوار الذهبية هبت نفحات أنسية فشد البلبل ألف تحية وبدا البدر الليلة شوقا يلقي الأنوار الذهبية يلقي الأنوار الذهبية.
I have many wishes ordinarily, but I know what is in my heart. But I just want Allah to give me the best, that will be suitable for me. So I can't say much because I have so many wishes in the other priority. But I know and I can't say. But I just want Allah to give me the best.
الجدول أهلا 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 المحفل
So, brothers and sisters in Islam, there is fun in the Sunnah. That is why when Hanzala radiallahu anhu, in the hadith of Hanzala, when he was discussing with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him that as-sa'atun was-sa'a, that there is time for this and there is time for that, which means there is time for seriousness and there is time for play. When Hanzala was telling the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that whenever they are with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he reminds them about the hellfire and paradise, they become so moody. In fact, they begin to ponder about the hellfire and the paradise. But when they go back to their families and they begin to play with their wives and children, they seem to forget about everything that the Prophet told them. And the Prophet ﷺ told him that as-sa'atun was-sa'a. And the companions radiallahu anhu, they were not all about battles, jihad, fighting, and all that. No, they had some quality play too. And this kind of play I'm talking about is not among the children and the Sahaba alone, even among the elders among them, even among the fathers among them. Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu mentioned the hadith that they once raised, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam along with his companions, once raised from Zulhaifa to the masjid of Bani Zurayq. And Abdullah ibn Umar mentioned that he even came first in that particular race. He was so proud of himself. Abdullah ibn Umar also mentioned that the Prophet had never been defeated in any horse race before. He used to come first every time. And on a particular occasion, a Bedouin Arab, an Arab, came for the first time and challenged the Prophet to a race. And at the end, he came first. And this affected the companions. It was obvious, it was showing in their faces that they were not happy that this man defeated the Prophet, and an ordinary Bedouin Arab for that matter. And the Prophet ﷺ told them that it is in the nature of Allah that whatever goes up must surely come down. Which means there is nothing perfect in this world. The fact that he has won all previous races doesn't mean that he would remain undefeated. So brothers and sisters in Islam, the Muslim men in every society or in every community should make out time for recreational activities. The committee of a masjid can even organize some bicycle races, some horse races, if it's at your disposal. The men in the masjid should participate in some mild sports once in a while, at least to refreshing that body, to have that agility, to remain steadfast, to be strong and all that. Because al-mu'minul qawi khayrun min al-mu'minul da'if. Because a strong Muslim or a strong believer is better than a weak believer in the sight of Allah. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make things easy for us.
يلقي الأنوار الذهبية يلقي الأنوار الذهبية.
Firstly, the only month of Ramadan, the only Quran have been revealed in the only month of Ramadan, which was revealed to our noble Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This holy month of Ramadan also brought about the night of Laylatul Qadr, which is better than the thousands of months which have been stated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this holy month of Ramadan also brings a lot about the closeness between me and the only God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then it has been stated and emphasized in the Surah Al-Baqarah verse 183 that Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu kutuba alaykum siyan kama kutiba ala alladina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun, that it shows the significance of the holy month of Ramadan.
وأظلنا شهر السلام ضيف يزور بكل عام فإذا أهل هلاله في الكون ينحسر الظلام في الكون ينحسر الظلام ونفوسنا تهفو له وتهيم فيه فلا تلام أيامه قدسية غيم سقى الدنيا سلام غيم سقى الدنيا سلام وأظلنا شهر السلام ضيف يزور بكل عام فإذا أهل هلاله في الكون ينحسر الظلام في الكون ينحسر الظلام تروي القلوب من الظما والليل يعبق بالقيام والعتق فيه هدية من ربنا حسن الختام من ربنا حسن الختام وأظلنا شهر السلام ضيف يزور بكل عام
يلقي الأنوار الذهبية أهلا أهلا أهل المحفل أنتم
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ به من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فهو المهتدي ومن يضلل فلا هادي له والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبع الهدى بإحسان إلى يوم الدين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. With the permission of Almighty Allah, we greet every one of us hearing this voice with the peace, with the greeting of peace, by saying, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace of Almighty Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, be on each and every one of us. The topic that they have asked us to talk about today is weakness upon weakness. This topic must have been coined from the verse or verses of the Holy Quran, which Almighty Allah used to conceptualize what the women folk go through, particularly during the period of procreation. Of course, what we know that Almighty Allah has established in His Majesty is that everything we call male and female must always come together, particularly within the confines of what is defined as marriage within us human beings, and then such also could also happen it happens among animals, but not to the same extent as we have in human beings, in the sense that the regulation that Almighty Allah has put there for us to appreciate His oneness, for us to appreciate His power, is not that there in terms of when you consider what happens in the lower animals. Now, coming back to human beings, we procreate based on affection. That is, the person you want to do it with must not be within the confines of those that are prohibited. The person must be completely out of those that are prohibited by Almighty Allah in the Quran. The person should not be your mother, should not be your father, should not be your sister or your daughter, as the case may be. Almighty Allah tells us the categories of persons we can marry. Now, when you now look at what Almighty Allah used to describe ladies, particularly women, weakness upon weakness, he used that for us to appreciate what women pass through, so that when we grow up, we know the importance of motherhood. We know the importance of the opposite sex, particularly the female sex for that matter. Now, it may interest every one of us that we have seen pregnant women at one point or another. When we also grew up and we got married or we are preparing to get married, the kind of things that women pass through in the course of carrying the pregnancy or carrying before even the pregnancy and during the delivery, one will know that Almighty Allah, as a complete God, our Creator, already has full understanding of every one of us, and he described that with the best of description, weakness upon weakness. Let us look at the two verses where Almighty Allah mentioned things that are related to this. In chapter 31, Surah Luqman, verse 14, Almighty Allah says that he has ordained for man to be of good behavior to his parents. Ammalatu ummuhu kuri wa'anan ala wa'anin. Almighty Allah used that phrase that the mother carried him weakness upon weakness. And in another verse, in chapter 46, verse 15, Almighty Allah started that verse by saying, that he has ordained, it was an instruction from himself, the Creator, that man must be, as a matter of necessity, be kind, be good to the parents. Amalati ummuhu kurihan ala kurihin. Almighty Allah says that the woman carries the child, carries her, as the case may be, whether female or whether male or female, hardship upon hardship. Let us look at this phrase: weakness upon weakness, hardship upon hardship. Let us look at the two of them together within the gestation period or pre-gestation, gestation, and then the delivery, to show us that Almighty Allah, as our God, is the one that has the right to say it the way he has stated it in the Quran. Let us look at what happens before gestation, before a woman gets pregnant. When a woman gets married, the expectation is that the following month after the normal monthly period, the woman is supposed to conceive. If peradventure the woman doesn't, the first month, 3 months, 6 months, even up to 1 year, we start running alter-scatter. The fault, the complaint will not be focused on the man, on what could have happened to the man. Everyone, particularly in the local setting, will start looking at the woman as someone that probably had used or misused herself before getting into the marriage. And by the time they start suggesting different things that the woman has to use or the woman should be able to take, they take the woman to the hospital. People in O&G will start attending to her. Even the local birth attendants, the traditional birth attendants, they will tell the woman to start visiting one person or another in order to be able to conceive. Now, that is what happens before conception. The moment the woman conceives, there are so many things that will follow. Take, for instance, at the early age of the pregnancy, which they call the preterm, that is the first 3 months, you see so many things that will start changing in the woman. Almighty Allah has described this, how it happens in chapter 23, after verses 11 upward. How it happens, the way the fetus will start developing. And when the fetus starts developing, the Prophet ﷺ also gave us description of what will happen to the fetus. The first 40 days, second 40 days, the third 40 days, which means about 4 months, when everyone, even for those that are ignorant of when a woman is pregnant, that is when it will become visible, that one will see a kind of protrusion in the belly of such woman. But even before this protrusion will start taking place, the moment the woman conceives, there are certain physiological changes that will automatically change in the woman. And you see the woman start having vomiting, nausea, feeling weak, unable to eat, become anemic, will become restless, may even be sleeping excessively due to the presence of this foreign body, so to speak, that has added, that has changed our system. And gradually this foreign body, the fetus, will start developing gradually from 1 week to 2 weeks, from 3 weeks to 4 weeks, and it will continue to continue like that to maybe averagely 9 weeks. And all this period, you see the woman feeling uncomfortable, sleeplessness, and not able to eat, not able to do many things that she has been known to be doing. And that is to say, as the pregnancy advances, the same way the kind of activities, the kind of weaknesses that the woman continues to experience will continue to increase. Let us look at it from this angle. It is the same woman that is carrying this pregnancy, advancing in her every minute, every day, that is working, that is a worker. And the same woman is the housewife. When you now go out as a man, you come back, you see the pregnant woman, struggling to combine the works of the office with the domestic work. And you just sit down there. You cross your legs when you come from the office, expecting the woman to put food on your table. You must know that the woman is going through a lot in terms of strength. And not only that, during the pregnancy, it is during that time that the moment it has been established that the woman is pregnant, you see the woman going to the hospital maybe once in 2 weeks or once in a month. And by the time it is approaching for her to deliver, they may even tell her you have to be coming every week or you have to be coming every 2 days. And gradually you see this kind of exercise decreasing her strength. It is only through psychological appreciation of what she is carrying that will keep her going. But when she looks around her, she's supposed to see people that will be showing love, that will be showing affection to her in order to psychologically boost herself. Now, before you get to that stage again, there are some women, on account of not getting pregnant on time, by the time they get pregnant, I know of situation whereby they will tell the woman for the pregnancy to be sustained so that the person will not have miscarriage. There are series of drugs that the O&G experts will be giving to such women. Some go to the extent of taking expensive drugs every day in order to make sure that they have that pregnancy sustained. It is not the man that takes the injection, but of course it's the man that will pay the bulk of such money. And when you look at all this, it eats deep into the strength of the woman. So when Almighty Allah says weakness upon weakness, He wants us to appreciate what a mother passes through. By the time is completed, 9 months or 9 months, 2 weeks or 10 months, as the case may be, there are women that may deliver naturally through the natural means, and there are some that may have to go through the blades in order to get the child born, and it's part of the things that add to their weakness. Take for instance someone that has delivered through cesarean operation. Automatically, it's not immediately they finish such operation that the woman gets up to start looking around, to start moving around as usual. But the person will pass through the pain. You now realize that someone that has passed through 9 months or 8 months or 11 or 10 months of pregnancy, increasingly with this weight of the baby on our heads, you're reducing our strength, reducing our weight. The person now is made to pass through the blades again, and by the time that one will heal up, the strength will no longer be the same. Even when one has delivered, either naturally or through cesarean operation, there are some things that come up depending on the individual. The woman may be suffering from hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia. That is, the sugar level may just increase suddenly. It's part of what could be attached to some persons. And some do have high blood pressure due to the pressure of delivery. And some even do have psychotic problems immediately after delivery, which they, in some cases, when they do not know the causes, such women may even go to the extreme. These are some of the things that the women go through. And as we said earlier on, whether through cesarean or through natural delivery, by the time the woman delivers the child, what normally follows is the joy that this woman has delivered a baby boy or a baby girl. Everybody will be joyous. In most cases that we see in our society, attention will now shift from that mother that has labored all through 9 months, that has now delivered the child through any means. You see the woman being more or less neglected. Many people will focus on the child and then look at the woman there without paying much attention. Now, when you look at all this and you juxtapose that with the reason why Almighty Allah mentioned specifically in the two verses that we quoted, chapter 31 verse 14, chapter 46 verse 15, why Almighty Allah specifically mentioned woman is that He wants us to appreciate who a woman is. Because come to think of it, there are two eggs that combine together to form the fetus. A man copulates with the wife, and the man drops the egg there, which mixes with the egg of the woman. And in some cases, you see the man dropping multiple eggs, which could be 2 or 3, and eventually the woman will have triplets or twins, or even more than that. Whether triplets or twins or more than that, it is the same woman that carries all this. You can now imagine the extent of strength that all this drain from the woman. And while the man was dropping his own, contributing his own quota to the procreation, it was not with the full force, with the pain that the woman passes through. He does that with enjoyment, he does that with joy, he does that with the affection that he has for the woman. And at the end of the day, he just does it once in the 2 or 3 minutes is done. And it is the woman that now carries the burden that follows henceforth. So that is why Almighty Allah specifically mentioned woman, that it is the woman that carried you 9 months in her womb, weakness upon weakness. And that also underscores the reason why the Prophet ﷺ was reported to have said that the paradise that everyone will enter is on the heels of your mother, which of course means that for you to enter paradise, you have to be kind to your parents, particularly your mother. This does not mean that you have to neglect your father as well. The Prophet ﷺ equally was reported to have said that when someone asked him, who should I be kind to? The Prophet ﷺ told the man, your mother. Then the man went and came back again, asked the same question. The Prophet said, ﷺ, your mother. The third time the person asked the same question, the Prophet ﷺ said, your mother. And the fourth time, the Prophet ﷺ now said, your father. Which means for you to receive the blessing of Almighty Allah, assuming you have hypothetically 100 naira, and you want to share that between your mother and your father, you have to give your mother 75 naira and then your father 25 naira. That is to tell you the extent of appreciating what a woman contributes to the life of a child. That is, we have talked about gestation period and the delivery. What of when the child has been born? It is equally the weakness upon weakness that Almighty Allah mentioned did not just end when the woman has delivered. It continues like that till the child grows up. Take for instance, when a child is young, maybe a day old, 2 days old, when the woman has been discharged from the hospital, you see the woman alone sleeping in the room with the child. It's only in very rare occasion, except modern parents now, that sleep with the mother to make sure that they both together try to take care of the child or the children, depending on the number that they have. The child may be playing, may be sleeping during the day like this, and at night, maybe around 11 p.m., that is when the child will just open the two eyes and will be playing around or will be crying. You see the woman losing sleep, carrying the child, put him or her on her back, and then will be singing, moving from one place to another, dancing for the child, for him or her to sleep off. These are some of the things that Almighty Allah added together to tell us that women deserve the kind of respect, women deserve the kind of affection that the highest that we can give them, because they are actually the pillars that brought every one of us into life. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.
يلقي الأنوار الذهبية أهلا 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 المحفل أنتم.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Amma ba'da, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my respected viewers. Now, alhamdulillah for another of his favors upon us, the favor of extending us to have a long life to witness another Ramadan in our lives again. This is a favor. As you know, Ramadan comes with a lot of demerits that we know about it. So we just want to look at Ramadan in summary. What are the basic things, the rudimentary matters of Ramadan that every believer needs to remind himself about, be well acquainted with, and prepare himself to see that he does the very best of what he can. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs us in the Quran regarding Ramadan. So he said, Shahr Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran. The month of Ramadan is the one in which the Quran was revealed. Hudan linnasi wa bayyinatin min al-huda furqan. To be a guidance for mankind and to be a proof, to establish guidance and also to establish the distinction between what is right and what is wrong. So then Allah said, whoever among you witnesses the month of Ramadan, that is alive, is healthy, and is at home, meaning is not on a journey, then such a person must observe the fast. So it's a commandment from Allah that we have to fast in the month of Ramadan. And this is the fifth pillar of Islam, as we have it in the hadith of the Prophet Islam ala khams. The Islam is built on 5 pillars. And then he mentioned all of them, and they mentioned Ramadan as Sawm Ramadan, which is the fasting of the month of Ramadan. So, and to that extent, what it means is that fasting is not, the fasting of Ramadan is not optional. It's actually obligatory. And when you say it's obligatory, every adult, sane, healthy, and resident Muslim, and some other matters of consideration, everyone who is free from anything that can hinder them from observing the fast, then it's obligatory on them to observe the fast. And what that means is that if they don't fast, then they are sinners. Not just sinners, they are from the people of major sins. And major sins are sins that a person don't just sleep and rest on them. You have to make sincere tawbah to Allah if you ever fail to observe the fast of Ramadan. So if we know that this is the extent, the weight of the fasting of Ramadan, then it is something that is very important to pay attention to. What are those rudimentary things that we need to be well acquainted with? The Prophet Islam used to talk with the companions when Ramadan was set in, that atakum shahrun mubarakun, that a month, a blessed month, has come to you, has visited you, has arrived upon you. Fihi laylatun khayrun min alfi shahr. In it you have a night that is better than 1,000 months. Fihi na'am futihat abawabu al-jinan wa wulikat abawabu niran. That in it the doors of the paradise are left open and the doors of the fire are shut. And then he says it will be an announcement that ya baghi al-khair aqbil, O you that seek to do good, you that is after prosperity, after success, after salvation, aqbil, then you should move. Come forward. This is the time for you to take advantage to get the very best of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has in stock for the righteous. وَيَا بَغِيَ الشَّرِّ, and you that want to do evil, you that want to disobey Allah, you that want to commit sins, you want to commit atrocities, أَقْصِرْ, this is not the time. You have to cut down on that. You have to arrest yourself. You have to tame and arrest these desires and force yourself to just comport with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from you. This is the month of Ramadan. And the Prophet Islam said, every night, lillahi utaqa minan nar. Every night Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sets people free from the fire of hell. This is the month of Ramadan. So if we have the knowledge of all of these virtues of the month of Ramadan at the back of our mind, then they form a reason for us to know that we have to work to get the very best out of the month of Ramadan. So what are those things that are very important that we have to know in this fasting? The number one thing, and which is the primary thing, is the fasting itself. The fasting itself. That we have to fast in this month. Do you know that the starting of Ramadan is either going to be with the sighting of the moon after the count of 29 days from the month of Sha'ban, or if the month of Sha'ban does not end at 29, then we count the month to be 30 days. Thereafter, we commence the fasting of Ramadan, meaning the month of Ramadan would have set in. So this is the beginning. And it's important that the believer has to take this from the Prophet Islam. Sumu li ru'yatihi wa aftiru li ru'yatihi. You should fast when the moon has been sighted. The crescent of Ramadan is sighted. And you should stop fasting when the crescent of Shawwal is sighted. The importance of this information is to say that the guideline on how the fasting should be started is already set by the Prophet ﷺ. No one should create anything for himself. You don't say that I'm not going to follow this person. This is the person I will follow. I don't belong here. I belong there. If it is possible for the Muslims globally to be united, the sighting of the moon in one country is enough and suffices for all of the countries of the world, according to one of the very strong opinions of the ulama. Because it is one moon. It's just a matter of the difference in geographical location. That is why we will not see the moon at the same time. Otherwise, the same moon that is sighted in Saudi Arabia, that same moon will be sighted anywhere that has the time zone ahead of them. So this reason, the sighting of the moon at one end is sufficient for every other place. But if the people have not all unanimously agreed that they want to work with it, then everybody should work with the imam of their region. So that whatever the imam of your region, for example, we are in Nigeria, or you are in UK, you are wherever, whatever the imam of the Muslim, the person that we regard as our leader in the place, says about that, this is what we are supposed to go with. Normally, every place they will have a committee to search for the crescent. So the committee will come with the information, and it's not from what is correct that a person will sight the moon on his own and then start the fast on his own. We are expected to fast collectively and break the fast collectively. It's an ibadah that is collective, not individual. And that's why there is a lot of discussion around this matter, but we'll just leave that. So importantly, the fasting of Ramadan starts with the sighting of the moon, or the completion of the counting of the days in Shaban to be 30. After that, we have started the fast. Importantly too, the person who is going to do the fasting of Ramadan has to take his intention. You know, intention has two matters in it. One of the matters is to specify what you are doing. Now, the fasting of Ramadan is an obligation that we have to carry out as Allah has commanded. So we are doing that on one hand. So you differentiate between the fact that you are fasting Ramadan from your fasting 3 days, for example, every month, or your fasting Monday and Thursday. There is a difference between this. So we know it's Ramadan fast we are doing. This is the first intention, that it is Ramadan fast I am doing. The second matter in the intention is that you are fasting for the sake of Allah. You are fasting for the sake of Allah. So you have to make your sincere intention that you are hoping that Allah will accept this fasting from you. You want to do it the very best you can, how excellently as you can. That is how you want to do it, so that it will be acceptable to Allah. إِنَّمَا يَتَقَبَّلُ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. Allah will only accept from those who fear Him, those who consciously do what they are doing, knowing that Allah is watching them, knowing that Allah has set rules, knowing that Allah has conditions for this duty to be carried out. So He pays attention to those conditions, those rules, those matters that concern the doing of this ibadah excellently. Then this is al-muttaqu. This is the one who is fearing Allah. So Allah will accept it from him. So a person should do the best he can to make his fast acceptable. The fasting is for Allah's sake alone. That's why the hadith is relevant, where the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that kullu amali bani Adam lahu, that all the work of the son of Adam, your salah, your sadaqah, your hajj, they belong to you. Illa siyam, or less fasting. Fa'innahu li wa ana ajzabi. For fasting belongs to me, and I am the one in the best position to reward the one who has fasted. So Allah is the one that will pay a person who is fasting with what measures to what befits the person. So the measurement is not there, but Allah will reward the person who is fasting. So sincerity included with our intention is one of the very essential matter of the fast. And then you know, the marking of the fasting is from Fajr to Maghrib. From Fajr to Maghrib. Fajr is the appearance of the dawn. Then Maghrib is the setting of the sun. Many of the time it's difficult for people to know when the dawn has appeared. So it's important that they could use estimated timing that you have, maybe as apps in phones or calendars that are issued by some of the established committees of Islamic works. Now, we can use any of these as a guide. Combine it with our physical observation of the weather to see that we are in line. Now, so Fajr, so you want to eat before Fajr. Once Fajr has come, that is when it is time for the morning prayer, then you are to stop eating. This is what Allah means when He said that you should complete the fasting till when night comes. When night comes here is when the sun will set.
I'm Nuruddin Asunoge. I want to implore each and every one of you to keep watching Amana Foundation programs on all the platforms that they have. You can be sure that you will be greatly enriched if you do.
Now, we have adhan in the morning. So sometimes the adhan of the muadhin is not the time that that the Fajr has just set in. In some places, you may have muadhin that are calling the adhan before the Fajr. So which is not supposed to be. So we are supposed to call the adhan as soon as Fajr has set in. And then that marks the beginning of our abstaining from food and drink and sexual intercourse with our wives till dawn. Till dusk in the evening. Now, so it is important to take note of this matter. The Prophet Islam said that the angels of Allah, they are supplicating for Allah's blessing for everyone who take the sahur, which is the food that you are going to eat in the morning to commence the fasting. So a person should eat this food, not just as a food, but as an ibadah with which he is seeking reward. So the one who cannot eat solid food should look for liquid food that they are going to take. Just find something that you are going to put in your mouth to mark your sahur, the beginning of your fasting, seeking the blessing thereby. And equally, the Prophet Islam has said, what differentiates the fasting of the Muslims from the fasting of the people of the book is the taking of the sahur. So you differentiate yourself from the people of the book, the kuffar, by taking your sahur. So it's not just about, well, I don't need it, I don't feel hungry, or I don't feel, no. Take the sahur for the benefit that comes with it. Medically, it's equally important. You should take the sahur. Anything can happen along the line of your fasting. Of course, yes, it's allowed that if we are fasting and anything happens that warrants that we have to break the fast, it's allowed. The fasting can be broken. Somebody fell sick, somebody fainted, somebody had an injury. Any of these matters, when they happen, if it's so severe, so serious, that the fasting may have to be broken, then you break the fast. So the taking of the sahur is one of the matters. Then the taking of the iftar, which is the breaking meal, is at sunset. Just as we said about the fajr, the muazzin may not call the adhan exactly at sunset. So what's important is to know when is sunset. What sun has said, take the breaking meal. And then there is excellence, there is merit in doing that early. Eat your sahur early, your iftar early. As soon as the sun sets, break your fast. This is an act of righteousness. Then, from the matters of importance that we pay attention to while we are observing the fast is to stay away from sins. Stay away from sins. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded fasting and said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, kutiba alaykumus siyamu kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. Believers, you have been commanded to fast as it was commanded to those who came before you. The essence is for you to acquire the piety, the consciousness of Allah. This is the essence of the fasting. So the one who is fasting should be afraid of committing sins, because his sins can reduce the reward of his fasting and may destroy it completely. This is the meaning of the statement of Prophet Islam, that Allah will have nothing to do with a person not eating their food, drink, and the rest in the name of fasting, and maybe also not sleeping at night in the name of standing up to observe the prayers, if the person cannot go away from qawl zur, false statement, lying, backbiting, sinful talks in all their forms. If a person can stay away from this, then Allah has nothing to do with their fasting. And then foolish behavior, according to one of the narration, or raise the voices, shouting, quarreling. No, they are not compatible with fasting. As why the Prophet Islam said, if you're fasting, somebody picks up a quarrel with you, you should tell the person, in Niswaim, I am fasting. The fasting person does not shout. He doesn't get angry and begins to think that everything, heaven must fall and all of that. No, the fasting person does not do this. He tries to be calm, he tries to be gentle, he tries to be very polite, he tries to be very patient. And hence, anywhere, circumstance, situation that may provoke him, he should avoid them. Go away from places where you may be provoked. Go away from places where you may be pushed to commit sins. The fasting person should not be the one who is looking at women who are not well dressed. Even those who are well dressed, you cannot be looking at women lustfully while you are fasting. You can't be watching indecent films in the name of whiling away the time while you are fasting. You can't be listening to music while you are fasting. So you have to make your fast really weighty. Be careful, be mindful of what you are doing, what you are saying with your mouth, what you are looking at with your eyes, what you are listening to with your ears, what you are doing with your hand, where you are going to with your feet. everything, you have to just be very, very careful not to destroy your fast. The Prophet said it, as you know. Ruba Sa'im, how many a fasting person, they will not get a reward for their fasting, and they will not get a reward for their waking up to pray at night, apart from hunger and thirst and denial of sleep to themselves. The only thing they will get is that they want themselves out. By engaging in these exercises, they will not get any reward. What will cause that? It is because while these exercises were being carried out, a person did not stay away from what they needed to stay away from. So we have to stay away from sins. Yes, you cannot be perfect, but don't deliberately commit sins. Don't knowingly commit sins while you are fasting. That's not to say that when we are not fasting, we can commit sins. The fasting is a period of time where you can engage yourself in this act of staying away from sin, so that after the Ramadan, you can become a better person. The expectation will be that you can sustain everything you have tried to do while in Ramadan across the other months of the year. So the fasting person should stay away from sins and everything that can destroy their fast. From that is lying, backbiting, gossiping, deceiving people, rumor mongering, causing confusion, saying anything you hear, you say it. The Prophet said it is sufficient for a person to be a liar, that everything he hears is what he says. It's not everything you hear you say. It's what you have verified you will say. And you will determine whether, even after verifying it, it is important to say it. You must not say everything. So the fasting person should be highly disciplined. Highly disciplined. Is of the highest, highest level of moral character, manners, behaviors, attitudes. This is what to expect from a fasting person. Now, then, going with this as a way of really making the fasting meaningful is performing the night prayers, which we already in a way indirectly made reference to. The Taraweeh, the night prayers in Ramadan, they are not compulsory, but highly meritorious. The Prophet ﷺ said, the one who completes his prayer with the Imam in the masjid, it will be written for him like he has performed the prayer for the whole of the night. So this is sufficient for a person to find reason to participate in the night prayer. Don't miss the night prayer. It is muakkada. It is highly emphasized, because the Prophet ﷺ was never reported to have missed the night prayer in Ramadan. So if people could miss the night prayers in other months than Ramadan, then in Ramadan they should not miss the night prayer. And that's why it's recommended, pray these prayers before you go to bed. Because if you go to bed, you may not wake up. Even though the best is to pray them in the latter part of the night. The best is to pray them in the latter part of the night, because at that time more additional benefits come. That's the time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is accepting the du'as of the people, the forgiveness of the people, the repentance of the people. That's the time Allah mostly accepts it. So, but if you cannot do this, then pray with the Imam. And then it's better to pray with the Imam than to pray alone. So join the Imam. If the Imam prays early, pray early with him. If he prays late, try to see how you can join him to do the prayer. And then the Imams should try to make it easy for the people. Do the prayer in a way that people will be encouraged to participate in it. But the believers, it's a month of hard work. It's highly recommended that these prayers should really be very, very filled with time. They should be filled with a lot of beneficial contents. And what is meant by that is the prayers should be long. But many of the people in this time, we are weak. So we cannot stand long. Before the Imam has recited, for example, Surah Naba, somebody will say that this Imam wants to kill people. So the Imam looks at the people. Don't, for this reason, think that, no, I must recite a Baqarah. No. Look at the people. If they can cope with what you want to do, then put that into consideration and lead them with what is convenient for them. Now, everybody will get the reward as long as they have participated in prayer. So these night prayers, they are not something that people should stay away from. They are a way of cementing the reward of the fasting. As the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man soma Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaban, ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbi." Then he also said, "Man qama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaban, ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbi." So these rewards are there. Whoever fasts Ramadan with faith and with hope in Allah's reward, whoever stands the night prayers with faith and with hope in Allah's reward, ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbi. Every sin he has committed in the past, Allah will forgive him. So the night prayer should not be played with. Then, along with this is commitment to recitation of the Quran abundantly. Recite the Quran a lot, because the month of Ramadan is as good as the month of the Quran. So in it, don't try to miss out anything at all. The Quran, you can complete it minimum. You can complete it 10 times. Finish it one round every 3 days. Every 3 days. Okay, maybe you say maximum. I'm saying minimum. No, maximum. Once every 3 days. But if you can't do that, maybe once every 10 days, once every 7 days. Just try to be very busy reading the Quran in the month of Ramadan. Mudarasa of the Quran too is part of the exercise to engage in, that is studying the Quran among ourselves. This is the essence of the tafsir of the Quran that the ulamas, they organize in different places. So attend this tafsir to hear the words of Allah, to hear the explanation of what Allah SWT has revealed as a way of strengthening our iman. And then remember the reward for reciting the Quran. For every letter, it is hasana for you. And then this is the month of Ramadan. You are reciting the Quran. So just imagine the reward that you are going to be getting.
بدر الليلة شوقا يلقي الأنوار الذهبية هبت نفحات أنسية فشد البلبل ألف تحية وبدا البدر الليلة شوقا يلقي الأنوار الذهبية.
Don't fail to watch out for the very ultimate essence of Ramadan, witnessing the Laylatul Qadr. Witnessing the Laylatul Qadr, the night of decree, the night of majesty, the night of power. Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, Laylatul Qadri khayrun min alfi shahr. The night of majesty is better than 1,000 months. The night of majesty is better than 1,000 months. In all sense. The ibadah you do 1,000 months, the ibadah you will do in just one night of Laylatul Qadr will be better than it. So don't miss it. And where is this Laylatul Qadr? Prophet Islam has guided us. It is in the last 10 nights of Ramadan. And more likely in the last, the odd ones among the last 10 nights of Ramadan. 21, 23, 25, 27, 29. Then very rarely it can also be in the evil nights. So don't let these nights go, these last 10 nights, except that you are engaged in ibadah, salah, recitation of the Quran, sadaqat, tawbah, istighfar, and so on and so forth. Take time, use the time to make the very best you can, because that's the last, the last part of everything is the best part of that thing. The last 10 days of Ramadan, they are the best part of Ramadan. Then the Prophet Islam equally in some of the narration has specified that Laylatul Qadr is on the 27th night of Ramadan. So what the ulama make from this is that it is mostly in the 27th night, not that it is fixed to the 27th night. So it all still boils down to the fact that make effort in all of the last 10 nights. And you will not make effort in all of the last 10 nights, except that biiznillah, you would have gotten Laylatul Qadr, inshallah. So don't allow this to miss you. And then this one now takes us to another very important matter, which is a means to assisting you to get the Laylatul Qadr, going on itikaf. Going on itikaf. Itikaf is to go in seclusion in the masjid, whereby you have devoted yourself completely. You have cut yourself away from dunya. You cut yourself away from the world. Your wife, your family, your businesses, your everything dunya, you cut yourself away from me, you come to the masjid. Allah labbaik, I have come at your service. I want to worship you. I want to give the very best I can of my time, energy to you. So you engage in this in the last 10 days of Ramadan, days and night together. So when a person does this, know how the person is going to get Laylatul Qadr bi-iznillah. So these are from the things that a person can try to work towards. And then ending the Ramadan is with Sadaqatul Fitr or Zakatul Fitr, which is a measurement of a given form. To be specific, it is 1 sa'a, which is 4 mudus for every person, every Muslim. A man will give for himself and those who are under his care, his wife, his children, even the slaves that are under his care. He will give a measurement of Zakatul Fitri to them. It goes with a lesson from Ramadan. The experience of hunger and thirst in Ramadan gives us a taste of what the people, the less privileged ones, they go through. So at the end of Ramadan, Allah is saying that we should give out sadaqat. The Prophet ﷺ said regarding this, so that you will free the poor people from begging on the day of Eid. And that's why the Zakatul Fitri has to be given before the Eid. And some of the ulama say that you can give it 2 days, a day before Eid, depending on the environment that you are. The distance it may take to get the material to reach those who are going to use it may make it not be useful if you have to wait till the Eid day. So it could be sent out a day or two before Eid, so that the people that want to use it will be able to put use to it. In addition to Zakatul Fitri, you can add anything. So if you give maize, you give rice to somebody, if you add 1,000 naira or whatever to assist the person to be able to make a meal out of that, now this is equally recommended. So this is how the Ramadan may be summarized. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our fasting of this Ramadan to be a very rewarding one, a very excellent one, the acceptable one that will be better than any that we have ever done before. We ask Allah to forgive me, the speaker, and you, the listeners. Definitely, wherever I have said it rightly, this is from the grace of Allah. Wherever I have got it wrong, surely that is from myself and from the shaitan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us. We ask Allah ta'ala to protect us from the evils we do and the evils of the shaitan. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
شوقا يلقي الأنوار الذهبية هبت نفحات أنسية فشد.
Firstly, I would like to thank my parents, most importantly my mom. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to enrich them because they've done a lot. And also my Ustadh Bilyaminu Ayinde for impacting the knowledge of Islamic. The little I know is just for him, and I pray Allah reward him and his family abundantly. And I would also like to thank my family and my friends, my classmates. I would like to thank everyone. May Allah reward them abundantly.
أنتم أجمل فالأشعار تراقص بشرا وسرى الحب كماء الجدول أهلا 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 المحفل أنتم أبهى أنتم أجمل فالأشعار تراقص بشرا وسرى الحب كماء الجدول قد شرفتم حفل السمر مثل نجوم حول القمر قد شرفتم حفل السمر مثل نجوم حول القمر جئتم للأفراح طيورا تشدو حبا فوق الشجر تشدو حبا فوق الشجر تشدو حبا